10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yo, what is up? It is Thursday night. It is 9 o'clock. The kids are asleep. The wife is asleep. It is time for Shooting the Shit Uncensored. And I am your host, the dad bod god himself, the bald, the beard, the fucking beautiful Piers Austin. And we are brought to you by the MWA Podcast Network. And ladies and gentlemen, I have a very, very, very special guest. I have a friend of mine returning to the show for part 2. Ms. Rochelle Rogue. But before I bring out my guest for this evening, I just want to take a quick pause for the cause to thank some of those amazing sponsors and help us keep the lights on up in this bitch 7 nights a week. First up is healthvape.com. Now, if you're a smoker, a vapor, is that even a word? I don't know. I'm trying to get up with the lingo, but healthvape.com offers you a healthy vaping alternative. All of their products are no nicotine, no addictive or harmful chemicals, and they are vitamin infused. From what I'm told, it's like vaping a Red Bull. I'm waiting to get mine in. They've sent me a bunch of them. I'm waiting to get them in. As soon as I do, I'll let you know how they are. But guys, check out healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount on your final purchase. But while you're checking out things online, you got to go and check out sleefs.com. That's SLEEFS, sleefs.com. They offer all kinds of athletic wear. They've got compression pants, compression socks, compression shorts, armbands, headbands, knee bands, mouth guards, football boots. They've even got dirty boxes, guys. So, guys, I've got to say, they've sent me a box of the boxes, right? And I'm an active guy. I'm nonstop. These boxes are the most comfortable boxes that I own. I've actually thrown out all my old boxes, and these dirty boxes are amazing. They stay fresh, they stay dry, they stay amazing, and they've got funky designs on the front of them, which keep everyone giggling. Well, keep my wife giggling because she's the only one that sees them, but she gets a giggle out of seeing these funky designs. So check out sleeves.com, use promo code MWAPOD and get a 10% discount on your final purchase. But ladies and gentlemen, at the MWA Podcast Network, we have so many shows. We got 7 shows for you, a show every day of the week. We've got Killing the Business, hosted by former ECW original, the Kingpin, Angel Medina, with King Mega and the Burger King, Glenn Sexton. We've also got Get Funked, hosted by former TNA and WCW star Alan Kiwi Funk. And we've got Knights of the Gimmick Table, hosted by the Dead Presidents. We've got Shooting the Shit. We got Wrestling with Sports. We got the Funkin' Kingpin. We got NXT Roundup. Guys, as I said, we got a show every day of the week. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button, wherever you're finding us. As long as you're finding us, make sure you support us. But guys, without further ado, I'm going to bring out my guest for this evening, Rochelle Rogue. Rochelle, thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me, and howdy, everyone. How is everybody? It's so good to be back.
Oh, it's great to have you back. And you know what? It was actually, we were just like talking beforehand that we were both on FWA commentary and you know, had a little bit of banter back and forth. You know, I had a lot of fun. That was like my second time doing commentary and I had an absolute ball and it was great to have you there to be a part of it as well. I had a lot of fun, you know, a lot of joking around and, you know, giving it to you a little bit, but you know, you definitely told me where to go a few times, I think.
It's so much fun. I feel like, you know what? If I don't make it as a wrestler, I'm just gonna go on to commentary because like I talk bulk shit and it's great.
Hey, so do I. You know, if it doesn't work out, come and be a podcaster with me. You know, we'll get it going.
Hell yeah, brother.
Brother. There you go. But you know, Rochelle, like, you know, you had a pretty big match, you know, you at FWA and, you know, you've been popping up more and more in other promotions as well. You're really starting to build a big name for yourself, you know, around the Australian scene, but like, you know, very quickly as well. So, you know, like is there a promotion in Australia that you haven't worked for yet?
There are multiple that I haven't worked for just yet, and I really want to. So going down to Melbourne, I want to keep going down to Melbourne. I loved it so much down there. I want to go to Six Below. I want to go to MCW. I want to go to, and then going to South Australia. I want to go to RC Dub. I want to go to Wrestle Rampage. I want to wrestle everywhere. And, you know, going back to companies that I've wrestled before and then going into new ones, you know, that fingers crossed, we don't know what 2022 holds, but I'm hoping to make an impact more than I have now. So I'm hoping that COVID doesn't kick us in the butt again, but
fingers crossed.
Who knows? Fingers crossed, because like I want to wrestle.
And I want to call wrestling matches. So, you know, I'm with you. So there you go. But I think as well, like I saw a tweet from you, like saying that you want to try a death match.
I do. I've been nagging Joel Bateman. I'm like, I want to do a death match. I want to do a death match. It is something that I've always wanted to do. I've always found an interest in it. And, you know, being a country girl from the middle of nowhere, like I'm a farm girl. I'm used to barbed wire. I'm used to electric fences. I've, you know, 1,000-pound animals have crushed me. And I'm like, mate, I feel like I can handle it. You know, I've gone through all this. I feel like I can hold my own in those types of matches. And I'm hoping 2022 will allow me to go down or to go anywhere with it. Sure. I'm really keen for it.
Is there a type of death match specifically that you go, you know what? Yeah, that's my jam. I want to try that sort of stipulation, or is it just like anything death match?
Anything death match, but I want to do a barbed wire rope match.
Like no rope barbed wire, or you mean like ropes wrapped in barbed wire?
Like the ropes are the barbed wire, so barbed wire are the ropes. Yeah. That's what I want to do because, like, why not?
But you know what? Like I'm a huge deathmatch mark, right? So I love watching death matches. And the thing is, like, whenever I find a match, it's like, oh, barbed wire rope match, and I'll go find it, and then it's like, oh, it's not a no rope barbed wire. It's like ropes wrapped in barbed wire. I'm like,
it's like disappointing. I'm like, no, like I grew up watching like Mick Foley. I literally have his autobiography like on my little like what is it like on my mantle. So like I've got my like all my pops and my TV, and I've got my like Mick Foley autobiography. And the amount of times I've read that book, it is not funny, but you know, like growing up watching him and doing the shit he did, my God, it is sick. Like,
well, I was a teenager when like they started showing the videos of him like jumping off his roof and shit like that, and I'd watch it and just go, like, that's fucking awesome. And then I'm like, my parents actually caught me with a ladder climbing. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm going to climb up here, and then I'm going to jump down on my friend over here. No, you're not.
It'll be so good. Like, he would like bump on anything. And I'm like, yes, I agree.
But yeah, like, I think like most people, they think deathmatch wrestling and they go, like, it's almost like a taboo thing almost, but it's like, it's like what driving past the car crash. Like, you just have to look. Like, you have to see what's
Exactly.
going on.
You know, my parents are very much like, they don't mind deathmatch, but they feel like it should be like, you know, at an end of a feud, or, you know, it you know what I mean? It's an ending
Yeah.
of something, which I understand that point of view, but like, you know, watching Mick Foley when I was younger, then going into, you know, watching deathmatch wrestling at Deathmatch Down Under, and, you know, getting to know more and more deathmatch wrestlers, I'm like, you know what? Oh, and then on top of that, being trained by Charlie Evans.
Yeah.
Like, I've been predisposed. Is that the word? I think that's the word I'm looking for.
Exposed to deathmatch wrestling, maybe? Like,
Probably.
yeah.
But, you know, being exposed to it and all that, like, it's obvious that, you know, I would want to try it, and I would like to go into that, just knowing, like, myself as a person growing up the way I have, you know, like, being able to handle 1,000-pound animals, like,
yeah.
it's
But even like older wrestlers who like look at deathmatch wrestling as something bad, it's like, but what is pro wrestling? It's an illusion of, like, you think that two people are killing each other. But if deathmatch like wrestling can be done in a way which is like kept in that sort of aspect of it, where it's like the illusion of it, like it looks like you're killing each other, but it's like pro wrestling, you know?
Exactly. It's like death, but safe death.
Yeah, exactly. Safe death.
Hey.
Let's not killing them completely. But yeah, I mean, like, do you have an opponent that you'd love to get in there and do this with? Like, you mentioned Joel Bateman. Is he the sort of guy that you want to go in there and do this with first time?
100%. You know, Joel Bateman, Vixen. Again, I would love to wrestle Charlie Evans, but, like, obviously, you know, she's currently in America, going over to, you know, back over to Britain within the next year. So I don't think that'll be able to happen. But, you know, there are so many wrestlers that I want to wrestle in a death match, or even a hardcore match, or something along those lines. You know, like, anyone, honestly, like, I have so much respect and so much love for all of them, and I would love to have a match with any of them. And yeah.
I think as long as it's someone who's like at least experienced in it as well, that can give you that, you know what I mean? Like the proper showing of it, not someone who's going to get in there and go, yeah, I'm going to smash you with this chair wrapped in barbed wire, and you just sell it.
And, like, I wouldn't be opposed. I'd be like, yeah, okay, hit me.
Take it.
Please, and thank you, my good friend. But, you know, like obviously I'd love to, like, wrestle, you know, Joel or Vixen or Mad Dog or Callan. Honestly, anyone, like, in those deathmatch kind of things. Like,
and they're all great performers as well. So, you know,
they
like
are
very, very professional and doing amazing work what they've been doing down there. So
yeah, and they're great people on top of that. So I'm like, yes, of course.
Exactly. Please hit me with light tubes.
Yes, please and thank you.
But, you know, like, as far as like the time in lockdown goes, like, did you like completely like detach from wrestling, or did you do the opposite and immerse yourself in wrestling? Like, were you like watching it like as much as you can, or were you just like time off?
I kind of had moments where I would have my time off, and I would be like, you know, kind of kept to myself, not really wanting to do much with wrestling, because wrestling is so hard. Like, it is a very draining thing, but like, I love it. I wouldn't have it any other way. And, you know, it's good to have those moments where you can take a step back and just have a breather from it, because it is so full on. But I then, you know, after I had my little bit of a break, I would be watching, you know, like wrestling matches with a group of friends. We'd all be on Discord and we'd watch them. And then, like, you know, I'd be watching a lot of local stuff, you know, just trying to get a feel of what other companies are like, and, you know, seeing what kind of, like what kind of, you know, what kind of companies like they're running, what kind of matches, what kind of people that, you know, just all of that. I wanted to get more of a feel for the independent scene. So, you know, I was watching a lot of TCW, you know, Deathmatch Down Under, you know, anyone that I was watching PWA, you know, of course, like, you know, watching a whole spectrum of, you know, Australian wrestling, which is, like, which is awesome.
I think as well, like you get to a point where it's like, you know, you just like, I think specifically the Australian scene is like, there's so much happening here in so many different places of Australia that as like, if you were to sort of spend time watching the independent scene, say from the US, like I'm sure you're going to pick up a lot of great stuff, but you're not going to be as knowledgeable about what's happening in Melbourne or Adelaide or these other places. So I kind of feel like it's one of those things where you really have to sort of immerse yourself in one particular genre of wrestling, you know, to
Yeah.
just stay on top of it, really.
Yeah, 100%. And then on top of it, like the Australian independent scene is growing so much. Like, it's not like we're nobodies. It's the whole don't call it a comeback. We've been here for years.
Yeah.
You know, people are finally starting to realize how good us Aussies are. And it is so good because we are all like this time in lockdown where we can you know, we did have our lockdown bits, but we were able to train and we were able to do like the online training sessions and stuff like that. We were still able to hone our craft and put on shows when we could and all that type of stuff. And it's made us so much better. And it's made the world realize how fucking good we are.
Yeah. Because I
You
think
know,
as well, for the longest time during that lockdown, like we were the only country in the world to have events that were close to full capacity. You know what I mean? Or
literally.
at full capacity. So like, I think anyone wanting to tune in for live wrestling was finding Australian wrestling.
Exactly. Like Caesar, he has friends over in America and they were in like, I'm pretty sure a Discord chat and he's just hopped on and he was watching Deathmatch and it just happened to be the show that I was on. And, you know, he messages me and he's like, my friends are popping for the fact that you're coming out to pirate music. And I'm like, yes, woo! It's sick. And it's so weird to think that I've got people over in America watching me wrestle. And it's like, oh my God, I'm getting that kind of recognition. It's just so weird to think because like here I am, I'm like, I'm a nobody. Like in my head, I'm still like, I'm just, you know, this little country girl from the middle of nowhere. Like,
but that's the thing, like with social media and things like Fight TV and independent wrestling TV, it gives independent wrestlers a platform to, you know, really get their names out there and build a brand behind them as well. Because I think like, you know, like independent wrestlers now, like to be able to have like just be a wrestler, be a performer, you have to have a brand, you have to have a social media presence, you have to have all these other little bits of things. And I think that like platforms like, you know, IWTV and Fight TV give like independent wrestling a much bigger stage that's needed for years.
yeah, 100%. And it's so good to see because it's, you know, it's giving Australian wrestling that like not even just the independent, like independent wrestlers, you know, it is giving all of Australia, all of Australia this like platform where it's like, here, come watch our talent, come see how good we are. And then like, you know, on a personal standpoint, it is so good to see, you know, good friends of mine being noticed because honestly, I feel like they deserve it. You know, they work hard and all of Australian wrestlers work hard. You know, we put in the hours and it's good to finally have that recognition that people are finally realizing that, you know, we are just as good as anybody else. We just haven't had the recognition that everyone else has gotten.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, even like looking at Australian talent now where they're being showcased in a very strong way over in like a WWE and NXT, whereas like, you know, I've said before, you know, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was a kid growing up, it was like an Australian going into that level of like to WWE was like never going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But kids these days can then sit there and go, my dream of being a WWE superstar or being a famous professional wrestler, whatever label you want to call it, is achievable. It's not because I live in Australia, it'll never happen. And I think now that you're starting to see that where people are getting that level of fame, but also the recognition that the Australian talent deserve.
Literally. And it's so good to see, like, it's not just like, oh, it's only the American talent that, you know, get that recognition. It's like you see people like Steph Delander, you know, Grayson Waller, the Iconics who, like, you know, are no longer in WWE, but they've, you know, moved on to bigger and better things. And it is so good to see that it's like, oh, this can happen to us. Like we're not we're not going to be shown, if that makes any sense. Like, we're not going to just work and necessarily get nowhere, because I know a lot of people are really happy with just doing the independent wrestling. Like myself at the moment, I'm very happy just being on the independents. I'm more than happy to just be a weekend warrior. But, you know, if I get the chance to do more, 100% I will take that opportunity. Yeah, but it's just good to see. It's good to finally have that platform to be able to take those opportunities if we can.
Yeah, and I think like it's definitely there, but also the fact is, like, you know, I wouldn't even say, like, you know, there's people that are happy to sort of be involved in the business and people that want to make it a career, and I definitely think there's places for, you know, weekend warriors. There's places for, you know, people that want to take it to the next level, because I think if you had every single person in Australian wrestling that was like, I'm going to go to WWE and be the next champ and stuff like that, then I think you would find a lot more, you know, politics in Australian wrestling than what you find elsewhere, as opposed to, yeah. And I think that has a lot to do with the Australian attitude and the laid backness of most Australians as well. But
Yeah,
that's also probably a big point of it as well.
yeah, 100%. And I know a lot of people who just, like, it's unfortunate. A lot of people who have gotten into wrestling and didn't necessarily want to continue to be in wrestling because of the politics. You know, like, it's so sad to see. But, you know, it's like, it's not as bad as other places, because, like, us being the Australian people, where, and, you know, in our nature, it's like, oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, I completely.
Random, like, movements, like, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's exactly the right point, though, because, like, you know, we look at the Australian scene now, and it's like, you know, I took a friend of mine to a PWA show, and his thought pattern going into it, and he didn't tell me this till after the show, was like, I thought we we're going to some fucking RSL, man. Like, this was like, what the fuck is this? This is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, and he was like, not like fuck wrestling, but he wasn't like, he just wasn't a guy who watched wrestling, right? So I took him to it, and he was like, this is amazing, like blah blah blah. Like, he now watches like as much Aussie wrestling, doesn't watch WWE at all, because he's like, I can't believe this is in my own fucking like city. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Literally.
this is amazing. Yeah.
I know a lot of people who are obsessed with Robbie Eagles and won't come to, like, the independent shows that he's on, but will watch New Japan and all that. And, you know, we'd talk to them and be like, hey, look, there's a local show. You can see Robbie Eagles in person, buy his merch in person, and do all this, like, all this cool shit. You don't just have to watch it through your screen. You can actually see it in person. Buy a ticket, go see your local wrestling show, because you never know what you're going to, like, not what you're going to come across, because there is so much untapped talent here, and it's in craze. It is amazing. It is crazy. There we go. That's what I was trying to say.
It's in craze amazing.
What? It's crazy amazing.
It's crazy amazing. But I've even said this before. I think now that, like, even going through 2 lockdowns, we're going to see more. I think wrestling shows are going to get sold out quicker, and I think that the audiences are going to grow, because all the fans are like, you know what? I really want to go to a fucking wrestling show. Those guys were like, yeah, I should probably go to one. I'm going to go to, like, no, I have to go to one, because I don't know when I'm going to be locked down again, and I'm not going to be able to go and see this. So literally, I think that's going to put a thing into people.
And it is so good. Like, I've had so many fans message me, be like, hey, look, we're going to be at this show. We're going to be at this show. We're going to be at this show. And it's like, it is so heartwarming, because it's like, it is so good to see that there are people taking these opportunities while we still have them, because, you know what it's like at the moment. Like, coronavirus is taking over again. It honestly would not be, like, surprise me if we do get another lockdown, just because of how many cases we've had, and it's scary. And I don't want to believe it, and I don't want to say it, but, like, that's where it's coming and that's where it's heading. So it's good to see that people are taking the opportunities while they can.
Yeah, I think that's the exact thing. And as I said, I think that shows are definitely going to grow. But, you know, as far as, like, you know, yourself, like, is the thought of going overseas in your mind at all? Are you just like, no, what I'm doing right now in the Australian scene, sure, some interstate stuff, but, like, internationally, is that sort of come into your mind at all?
Yeah, see, I would love to go overseas. Like currently, like I probably wouldn't be able to just because, of everything going on in the world. But I would
Sure.
love to go over to America, go over to the like United Kingdom, go over to Japan, eventually, and go over to New Zealand and all of that. I really want to. I want to make a name for myself outside of Australian wrestling as well, and like have all that fun stuff that I can go and do all that, and you know have that, you know what I mean, give that like
Yeah.
more of a platform for other wrestlers as well as other Indigenous wrestlers, because that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that there are a lot of Indigenous wrestlers in Australian wrestling, and that is
Yeah.
one thing that, like, being a proud Gamilla and Warramai woman, I'm very, yeah, it's very like something that I really want to, yeah, really want to talk about, and I really want to get it out there that it's like, look, we are here, hello.
But that's the thing, like, like I know yourself, Joel Bateman, two very proud Indigenous people. You wear it on your ring gear. How many more Indigenous people are in the wrestling business just that aren't as forthcoming as saying, "Hey, we're Indigenous"? But like, is there a community that is really sort of starting to come through the Australian wrestling scene?
Yeah, so there is. So we were supposed to have a stomping grounds, which was all Indigenous wrestlers going over to Western Australia to kind of have a wrestling kind of show thing during NAIDOC week.
Mm.
It's been postponed for the past like 2 years because of everything, but there has been such a great wide community, and we're all family, like we're all mob, and we
Yeah,
have like a group chat, and there's more and more people that I get to know, and I'm getting to know that are like, oh, you're like your mob as well, and like I'll talk to them, and it's like, the more you get yourself out there and the more people you meet, the more things you realize, and the more people, like, you know what I mean, you like, the more you grow your connections and grow that
mm,
platform, the more people you'll realize it's like, oh yeah, and the more you talk to them, it's like, it's really, really interesting and really, really cool. And it's so good to see so many Indigenous wrestlers. Because when I first started, I'm like, yeah, I want to incorporate my, like my culture and my heritage into my gimmick and into
yeah,
everything that I am, because that is who I am. And yeah, so, and at that point in time, there was only Joel Bateman and Erica Reed that I knew of. And then, you know, meeting all these people, I'm like, oh my God, it's not just this like so small, like this such, small niche of us. There are
yeah.
so many people, and it's so good to see.
But that's amazing because like there's communities out there in Australia, like especially like Indigenous communities, which might not have the best environment for the youth of their population, but for them to see, hey, there is a young Indigenous girl seeing you go and perform at a show. It's like, oh wow, like she can go out and do that and be this amazing badass. I could go on and you know what I mean, like the
Yeah.
inspiration that it can lead to that population and to that community is overwhelming. And I think like like for me personally, like and I want to ask your thought on this. Like every year we usually see the rugby league match with the Indigenous All Stars versus the other All Stars. Like, what's your thought about something like that? Me personally, I kind of see that and go, what we're doing there is we're almost like saying, no, there's a divine line, Indigenous people over here, everyone else over here, and you're having a match again. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost
Yeah.
like, I think that's a little bit inappropriate in this day and age. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so like there are pros and cons on like on it. Like I love it how it's like, oh, you're having like, you're really pushing the Indigenous people, and pushing them into like into a spotlight where it's like, look, these are Indigenous players,
Yeah.
and gives them more of a platform instead of just being like, oh, this person's Indigenous and they're like one of maybe two or three on an entire squad, or maybe just be the one. So like I do appreciate in that sense, but then I do see the cons where it's like, oh, it is, you've got non-Indigenous people versus Indigenous people. It's so hard to try and have that fine line where it's like, oh, we want to push our Indigenous people, but we, like, you're comparing them at the same time, and it's like,
But it
ah,
almost like it almost puts in that divide right there. And that's where I
Yeah.
was like, I wanted to ask you about, because I know that you are such a passionate person and so proud of your heritage, that I wanted to get your perspective on that, because it's always something that I went, I don't know if I can get behind this. Like it just felt like a little bit wrong.
Yeah, but like it's so hard to like find like a fine line between it.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is, if they get rid of that Indigenous things, not many people know about the Koori knockout or anything like that, which is an all Indigenous, football, like a couple of days where it's just football from all throughout New South Wales. All these tribes, all these people like who will go through these teams from certain parts of New South Wales representing different tribes, go and have a weekend of football. And it's awesome to see, but then it's like not many people know about that. Not many people watch it, but a lot of people watch the NRL, so they'll watch the Indigenous All Stars versus non-Indigenous All Stars. So it's like, well, there's recognition in one sense, and then a lot of people will will notice that, oh yeah, okay, there's this, and then they'll find the Koori knockout, which is another, it's more local. It is people we know. This is our uncles and our aunties. These are people we see on a daily basis who are going out and like playing league, and it's great to see.
Yeah, no, like absolutely. I think I can definitely see your perspective on it as well. But one of the things we did sort of talk about prior to the show that I wanted to bring up and ask you about was the tweet that you put out a couple of weeks ago, and I asked you probably before the show was like how you're feeling about it. Obviously because it was such a big thing to come out. Do you want to talk about it? Talk to me about like what sort of was the inspiration to finally get you to come out and speak up about this?
So, like, leaving that school and starting training at the Hoos, I had a lot of, I like had a lot to talk about, and I'd spoken to a lot of people about it, or like not a lot of people, but a certain group of people, and they were like, look, you can't keep this in. You need to come out with it, and you need to open up about it, because there are so many people who don't know what's going on. So I did talk about it, and I opened up about it, and I did talk to people about it, and it's good to see. It's good to see that there is so much support behind it, and
yeah, and I think as well, like it's encouraged now, like for someone to have that strength to come out and say, hey, what I went through is not okay, and this is not acceptable, and I think that by doing that showed a lot of courage to finally do it, and I'm incredibly proud of you for doing it, and I think that you set an example for young women in this business, in professional wrestling, that, and I think young people in general, where it's like, don't let people pressure you into something that you're not okay with doing, or make you feel like you owe them something.
Exactly. Like it's so messed up, and it's happened to so many people. It's shocking, and it's messed up. But I'm so glad that the speaking out movement did happen, because it just gives that relief that you don't have to keep it in. You don't have to like let it slide. You can actually talk about it, and you can like open up about it, instead of just kind of hiding away like you would have to even as close as 5 years ago.
And it's hard though, like for people to do it, because sometimes like you just want to forget about it and not have it exist. But speaking up about it, shows tremendous courage. And as I said, I'm very proud of you, and I support you 110%, and you know that already. But like as far as where you're at now with who, sorry, much better place, and obviously in an environment which is there to sort of see you succeed and become the amazing talent that accentuate the amazing talent that you have, I should say. It's really good to like have that support there, and like Australian wrestling is so good in it. Like you have such a close knit community, and there's so much support there.
it's really good to see, yeah, and it's like, having that close knit community, it makes you, it makes you realize that it's like, oh, we're a family, despite the politics, despite everything, we're still there for each other. We're still family. We're still, we're still tough cookies, and we're going to be here for each other. We're going to stand strong, and we're, going to move on from this, and it's going to make wrestling a better place, and it's going to make it a safer place, and it's good to see.
Do you think that we're starting to see that more and more now, where like that sort of behavior is being eradicated? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you just kind of like cut out, and I'm like,
oh no, sorry. I said, do you think are we seeing more and more of that behavior being eradicated from pro wrestling that you're seeing?
Yeah, we are. Like, there is so many people, like, since all of this has come out, and people have been outed, like, people have not let shit slide, and it has made wrestling a safer place. Like, it has made it such a better community. It has made wrestling as a whole so much better. It has made it safer. It has made a better work environment, and it's good to see, and it's amazing, and I love it so much. And it's so good because there are people that I train with that are like coming up into the business, and I'm so glad to see that it's like it's a safer place now. It's they can go out and they can be themselves, and they don't need to worry about people in wrestling being creepy, because wrestling, we're a family. We're all weirdos who like to wrestle other people in spandex, like like, we're a family. We've got to support each other and all that type of stuff.
Oh no, I completely agree, and I think that that's one of the things, like for the Australian wrestling scene, what I can really speak of is it is a very welcoming environment. It's a very friendly, like, it's, if you're there, a part of the show in some aspect, it's very welcoming. If you're a fan, it's very welcoming. It's never, I've never gone to a show where I felt, I don't belong here, I need to peace out. It's always a very welcoming, always a very fun experience.
Literally, and it is so good. Like, I can't talk for a lot of excuse me, oh my god, I can't talk for a lot of companies, but being a long-time person at FWA is my home, and I have never felt out of place there. I remember the first time I was there, I'm like 18. I'm 18 years old, and I'm like 18, 19 years old. And I'm like freaking out because there's like people like Shazza McKenzie, Lena Cross, Xena, and Kingsley. And that was my first match. It was the Road to Glory match. And it was the 5 of us. And I was shitting myself because I'm like, these people are so much more talented than me. Like, oh my god. And
they're all amazing ladies, though. They're fantastic people. I'm sure they would have been like, come here. Like,
they were. I was freaking out, and I remember first time I met Shazza. Oh, like this first or second time I met Shazza, and I've gone into the backstage area, and I put my stuff down, and I've gone up to Shazza, and I've gone to shake her hand, and she's like, we're going to be wrestling in a few hours. Come here. And she hugs me, and I'm like, oh my god, thank you. Thank you so much. It was, yeah.
It's needed sometimes, I think, like that. I think Shazza being a veteran is probably like, I mean, like, she probably knows, like, people would probably feel a little bit intimidated to know that, like, oh, their name is against hers on the card. And, like, she's probably like, but she's one of the most friendliest people in the business.
She is amazing. I adore everything about Shazza. She is amazing. It was so, like, again, I cannot say this enough. Like, it was so nerve-wracking meeting her. It was like, oh man. I'm like, oh my god, she's wrestled at AEW and on like NXT. Oh my god.
It's like, don't be a mark, don't be a mark, don't be a mark. I'm a huge fucking fan.
Literally. I'm like, I remember finding out I was wrestling her, and I'm like to my parents, like, oh my god, I'm wrestling Shazza McKenzie. Oh my god.
But are your parents like into like? I know your parents come to the shows and stuff like that, but are they like in the know of the business, or are they just like, yeah, we go there, go Rochelle?
So my parents are kind of in the know about it all. Like, I will talk to them about so much. I'll be like, I will sit down and I will rant about wrestling to my mum and my dad, and they know so much about wrestling. They were the reason I got into wrestling in the first place.
Yeah.
They were massive marks in the day, and they still are. And like, I am myself, I'm a mark. I feel like everybody in the wrestling business is a mark. You can't
100%.
say that they're not. Like,
I think we're all marks for something, whether it's wrestling or there's something in this world. Everyone is a mark for something.
literally. And like, I like my parents being as supportive as they have been for me and wrestling. It's been amazing, and the fact that I can, I can sit down and I can talk to them about what's going on, and they've learnt more and more and more about wrestling instead of just like the general, the general stuff you find out as a fan. Like, they get that like insider kind of scoop, and that they have that insider knowledge of what goes on in wrestling, and it's great to see, because it's like, I can talk to you about what's going on. I can talk to you about the politics. I can talk to you about everything, and they'll give me like, the parental advice. They'll give me more knowledge about what's going on. They'll be like, look, this, don't let it bother you, that kind of stuff, like, and it's great because it's like you get that experience from someone who has that outsider knowledge of what's going on, and it's amazing.
Oh, absolutely. But as far as coming up for next year, like, what are your main plans going into 2022?
I want to wrestle as much as I can. I want to go in a state. I want to go overseas if I can, if everything, allows me to. I want to meet new people. I want to do as much as I can, because I have a lot to make up for. I missed a lot in during the COVID period and all the lockdowns. So being able to wrestle as much as I can would be an absolute dream for 2022. So anywhere, anyone, anytime, any place, I am 100% down, because I just want to wrestle.
There you go. Promoters that are seeing this, make sure you hit up Rochelle Rogue. She's keen to wrestle and wrestle.
Just let me wrestle.
It's like that UFC guy. Just let me bang, bro. Just let me wrestle. Literally. But guys, it is that time of the show. It is time for 60 seconds with Piers. How this is going to go down is I'm going to start the clock. Rochelle has 60 seconds to answer as many questions as she can. Rochelle, are you ready to get the ball rolling?
I feel like I'm ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Favorite song to sing in the car?
With confidence. Anything from them, mainly Poison.
Okay. Would you rather appear on Home and Away or Neighbours?
Can I say neither? Because I don't like any of them.
That works. You have 24 hours to spend $2 million. How do you spend it?
I would fly down to Melbourne, go into the casinos, buy a house for my parents, and pay off my car, pay off everything, and help out my grandparents as much as everything, help out my family. Literally spend all the money on helping my family and doing fun stuff for myself.
I love how you started that with go to the casino in Melbourne and then help everyone.
Of course, you gotta have some fun in there. You gotta
exactly. What is the best
to win it?
Exactly. What is the best gift you have ever received?
A 10-inch Bulbasaur, of a 10-inch pop Bulbasaur that I got from Kid Valiant for Christmas.
What is your go-to party trick?
I can bridge on my face, so that's my party trick with non-wrestling people. I'll just bend backwards, and they're like.
Would you rather be 4'5" or 7'7"?
7'7". I want to be a giant.
Fuck yeah. Would you rather own your own boat or your own plane?
My own plane.
Okay, and one has to go: Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter.
Game of Thrones.
And last one, in 5 minutes, you are being shipped to outer space. What 2 personal belongings do you take with you, excluding human beings?
Damn it. I would take my phone and I'd take my dog.
Phone and dog. There you go. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been 60 Seconds with Piers. Rochelle, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on Shooting the Shit Uncensored. Absolutely, you are always welcome on this show anytime that you want to come back on. Next week, I've actually got a friend of yours on, Kid Valiant, who'll be making his first time appearance. So on Shooting the Shit Uncensored. So make sure everyone you tune in for that at 9 p.m. on Tuesday night. But Rochelle, where can everyone find you on social media? Where can everyone find some of your amazing merch?
Awesome. So a lot of my merch is on wrestler merch. If you want an 8x10 or a sticker, just head in my DMs on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even on, Discord if you have. All of them are Rochelle Rogue, except for my Instagram and my Twitter, which is Rochelle Rogue PW.
There you go. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you check out our sponsors, sleeves.com. That is using promo code MWAPOD to get a 10% discount. Also, make sure that you check out healthvape.com. Use promo code MWAPOD and get a 10% discount there. Guys, also make sure you check out all of the amazing shows that we have on the MWA Podcast Network. We got shows 7 days a week. We got Killing the Business, Get Funked, Funkin' Kingpin, Wrestling with Sports, Wrestling with Tragedy. We've got NXT Roundup and Nights of the Gimmick Table. So make sure you check all of those shows out. But Rochelle, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again. And look, we'll have to do it again very, very soon.
100%. Thank you so much for having me back. It's always good to have a chat with you, Piers. I love every minute of it. I love talking shit with you.
That's it. That's it. We always shoot shit, talk shit, and everything in between. But guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button. Go and subscribe to Rochelle on social media. And guys, we'll see you again very, very soon. Till then, take care, relax, peace.